AITA for refusing to attend my twin sister's wedding because she's marrying my ex? People always say twins share everything: toys, clothes, secrets, even feelings. But I never thought that would include the man I loved. My sister, Claire, and I have always had that eerie connection people romanticize. We finished each other's sentences as kids, switched classes for fun, and protected each other from everything. But somewhere along the way, that closeness became competition. She was always the charming one, the center of attention, the girl people remembered. I didn't mind. I was quieter, more cautious. I liked being the steady one while she was the star. Until Ethan came along. Ethan and I dated for 3 years. He wasn't perfect, but he was mine, or at least I thought he was. He met Claire a few months into our relationship. She was visiting for the weekend, and I remember how his face lit up when I introduced them. I didn't think much of it back then. Everyone liked Claire. She was funny, beautiful, easy to talk to. But sometimes I'd catch him watching her just a little too long, laughing harder at her jokes than mine. When I confronted him, he brushed it off, said I was paranoid. Claire called me possessive, told me not to let my insecurities ruin a good thing. I apologized to both of them. I always did. 2 years later, Ethan and I broke up, or rather, he ended things. He said he needed to find himself, that we'd grown apart. It hurt like hell, but I respected it. I didn't talk to him again, didn't stalk his social media, didn't beg him to stay. I tried to move on. But 6 months later, I found out he and Claire were together. Not from them, of course. From a mutual friend who thought I already knew. I felt sick. When I confronted Claire, she swore they'd reconnected by accident, that she didn't mean for it to happen, but that they were in love now. She said love doesn't follow rules, as if that excused everything. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked out of her apartment and stopped answering her calls. For 2 years, we barely spoke. Then last month, she called and said, "I want you to be my maid of honor." I thought it was a cruel joke. But no, she was serious. She was marrying Ethan, the man who once promised me forever, and she wanted me to stand beside her as she said those same words to him. She said it would be healing for both of us. Healing. I didn't even know where to start with that. I told her no. I told her I couldn't be part of it, couldn't even attend. She cried, called me bitter, said I was ruining the family dynamic. Now my parents are begging me to reconsider, saying I shouldn't let old wounds ruin her happiness. But what about mine? When I told my parents I wasn't going, the silence on the phone was heavier than any argument. My mom tried the guilt route first, your sisters. This is supposed to be the happiest day of her life. My dad went straight for logic. It's been years, sweetheart. You can't hold on to that forever. But no one asked what it felt like to lose both a partner and a sister in one betrayal. It wasn't just that Claire dated Ethan, it was that she took the one thing she knew would shatter me and did it anyway. Love doesn't just happen when it means stepping over someone else's heart. Still, everyone keeps framing it as if I'm the one being unreasonable, as if forgiveness is some social obligation you owe for family harmony. A week later, Claire showed up at my apartment without warning. I opened the door, and there she was, glowing, confident, wearing a ring I'd once imagined for myself. I froze. She hugged me before I could react, her perfume the same as always, sickeningly familiar. She started talking fast, like she'd rehearsed it, how she wanted me there, how she couldn't imagine her wedding without her twin by her side, how love was complicated but fate was fate. I listened, numb. Then she said something that burned straight through my composure. You should be happy for me. You and Ethan weren't meant to be. But we are. I think I laughed, but it wasn't the kind that sounds sane. I told her she didn't just steal my boyfriend, she rewrote my history. Every memory I had with Ethan now felt polluted, like it belonged to her instead. She called that dramatic. She said Ethan was never really in love with me, not the way he is with her. I wanted to scream, but I just stood there, arms crossed, trying not to let her see me shake. Then she softened and said she wanted to start over, that we were adults now, that people move on. She held out the wedding invitation like it was a peace offering. I didn't take it. I told her she could marry whoever she wanted, but she'd have to do it without me. She started crying, saying she didn't want to get married with a broken family, that she'd already told everyone I was walking her down the aisle. The irony hit me. She wanted me to literally walk her toward the man who'd once promised me forever. When I refused again, she said I was making her look bad, that people would think I'm petty. I told her maybe they should. Then I closed the door. Since then, I've been the villain in every family group chat. My mom says Claire is devastated, that she's always loved me and regrets how things happened. But if she truly regretted it, she wouldn't be asking me to stand there smiling while she says I do to the man who once whispered it to me. Everyone keeps talking about how twins are inseparable, like that makes betrayal softer. It doesn't. It just makes it cut deeper. The wedding is in 2 weeks, and I've ignored every message, every phone call, every guilt trip disguised as family advice. My mom sent me photos of the venue, a seaside villa with white roses and sunset lighting, as if aesthetics could wash away betrayal. My dad texted me that I'm too old to hold grudges. I typed 100 different replies and deleted all of them. The truth is, I'm not holding a grudge. I'm holding my sanity. Attending that wedding would be like volunteering for emotional surgery without anesthesia. Still, I've replayed the decision in my head every night. There's a part of me that misses her, not the woman marrying Ethan, but the sister who used to sneak into my room and cry over breakups, who swore we'd never let a man come between us. I keep wondering when that promise stopped meaning anything. Maybe it was the moment she started seeing him behind my back, or maybe when she justified it as fate instead of betrayal. Either way, that version of us doesn't exist anymore. Last night, Ethan called me. His number flashed on my screen like a ghost I didn't invite. He said he wanted to clear the air, that he didn't want any bad blood on their wedding day. I asked him if he ever thought about how it felt for me to lose him twice, first as a lover and then as a reminder. He went quiet for a moment, then said, "You and I weren't meant to last." You know that, right? I hung up before he could finish. That call confirmed what I already knew. They both think they're the victims of my bitterness. It's easier for them that way. Today, my mom stopped by unannounced. She looked tired, older. She said Claire was heartbroken I wasn't coming, that she'd been crying for days. I told her she made her choice when she fell in love with Ethan. My mom said love isn't always a choice. I told her loyalty is. That's when she started crying, saying she didn't raise us to hate each other. I said she didn't, but she also didn't raise us to think love excuses betrayal. So no, I won't go to that wedding. I won't sit in a sea of white and pretend I'm happy watching the man I once loved slip a ring onto my sister's finger. I won't pose for photos that will hang in her living room like trophies. I'll spend that day quietly, maybe go to the lake we used to visit as kids, the one place that still feels untouched by all this. Maybe one day I'll forgive her, not because she deserves it, but because I deserve peace. But forgiveness doesn't require attendance. Everyone keeps asking if I'm the asshole for skipping my twins' wedding. Maybe I am. Maybe family loyalty should outweigh old heartbreak. But here's what I've learned. Some wounds stop bleeding, but they never really close. And if staying away is what it takes to stop reopening mine, then maybe being the villain is the only way to finally heal. AITA for taking back the car I gifted my boyfriend after finding out he'd been using it to cheat? When I bought him that car, I thought I was giving him freedom. Turns out, I was just financing his double life. We'd been together for 3 years, and when he finally landed the job he'd been dreaming about, I wanted to celebrate him. He'd always talked about getting a car so he could stop relying on rides and late buses, so when my work bonus came through, I surprised him with one. Nothing fancy, a used gray sedan, reliable and clean. He cried when I handed him the keys, kissed my forehead, and said no one had ever believed in him like I did. I believed every word. The first few months were perfect. He drove us everywhere, blasting music, holding my hand at stoplights. He said the car made him feel like a real man. I didn't realize how literal that would become. Slowly, his schedule changed. He started working late more often, answering texts less, keeping his phone face down on the table. When I asked if everything was okay, he said I was overthinking. But something about his energy shifted. He went from grateful to distant, from soft to defensive. Then one weekend, he left the car at my place while he went on a guy's trip. I decided to clean it for him, wipe the dashboard, vacuum the seats, a nice little gesture. I found an earring in the back seat. Not mine. It was small, gold, with a pearl drop. I knew it instantly because his coworker, Alina, wore the same pair at a party months ago. My stomach sank. I checked the glove compartment. There was a receipt from a motel 2 towns over, dated the previous week. 2 nights, 1 room. Paid in cash. My hands shook so badly I had to sit down. I didn't need more proof, but I found it anyway: lipstick-stained napkins, perfume that wasn't mine lingering in the air vents. When he got home, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just handed him the receipt and the earring and said, "You forgot something." He stared at me like a cornered animal, then launched into excuses, that it was a misunderstanding, that he lent the car to a friend, that I didn't trust him enough. The lies were sloppy, panicked. I told him I wanted him and his things out by morning. He called me dramatic. I called him done. I should have stopped there. But when I looked out the window and saw that car parked in my driveway, the one I paid for, titled under my name, it hit me: he'd been cheating on me in my car. My kindness had been his vehicle for betrayal. That's when I made my decision. The next morning, I woke up to find his stuff still in the apartment, shoes by the door, his jacket on the couch, as if nothing had happened. The car keys were gone, though. He'd taken it. I texted him one last time: "Leave the car at my place or I'm calling the police." His reply came fast: "You gifted it to me. It's mine." That one message made my blood boil. Technically, the car was registered in my name. I'd bought it, paid the insurance, and even covered maintenance. I'd only ever said it was a gift because I didn't think I'd need to clarify ownership with someone I loved. The fact that he threw that word back at me was the final insult. I called my cousin Mark, who's a mechanic. He told me flat out, "If it's in your name, it's yours. Go get it." So I did. I tracked it down through the GPS app I'd installed for emergencies. It pinged from an apartment complex on the other side of town, not his, not mine. I drove there with my spare key, heart pounding like I was doing something illegal. The car was right there in the lot, parked under a tree, windows down, same damn earrings still hanging from the mirror. I didn't hesitate. I got in, started it, and drove home. An hour later, he called, furious. Said I'd stolen his property. I told him to check the registration papers and hung up. Then the text started: insults, voice notes, threats to report me, and finally a message saying I'd ruined his life. I blocked him. 2 days later, his mom called me. Apparently, he'd told her I'd taken back a car I'd promised him forever. She said I was cruel, that he was heartbroken, that men make mistakes. I told her that if cheating was a mistake, he'd made it in my car repeatedly. She went silent. By then, word had spread among our mutual friends. Some took my side, saying I had every right to take back what was mine. Others said it was petty, that once you gift something, it's gone. That part actually made me question myself. I'd been raised to believe that when you give fully, no strings attached. But what about when the person abuses that gift? Was it still generosity, or had it become stupidity? I stared at the car parked outside my building, still spotless from the day I cleaned it for him. It didn't feel like revenge, it felt like reclamation. I wasn't taking back a car. I was taking back my self-respect. The problem was, he wouldn't stop showing up. I'd come home to see him waiting by the entrance, begging me to talk, asking for just one chance. He even offered to buy the car off me, like we could make a deal on betrayal. I told him the car wasn't for sale, and neither was my forgiveness. But I could feel the resentment growing around me. Friends saying I went too far, that I should have just let him keep it and moved on. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'd crossed a line. Or maybe, for once, I was just drawing one. It's been 3 months since I took the car back, and I still catch people whispering about it. Breakups have a way of dividing a crowd, half think you're justified, half think you're vengeful. I stopped trying to defend myself because the truth doesn't need approval. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting hearing people call me cold or vindictive. They didn't see the nights I cried myself sick wondering how long he'd been using that car to sneak around. They didn't feel the humiliation of realizing every work-late excuse was another lie on wheels I'd paid for. I ended up selling the car 2 weeks later. I couldn't stand looking at it. Every scratch on the steering wheel felt like a memory I didn't want anymore. I put the money into savings, then bought myself something small, a weekend trip alone to the coast. It wasn't expensive, but it was peaceful. No texts, no explanations, no one telling me what I should have done differently. Just me, the ocean, and the sound of waves that didn't care who was right or wrong. Somewhere between packing my bags and deleting our old photos, I realized I wasn't angry anymore, just done. Then, out of nowhere, he emailed me. He said he was proud of me for standing up for myself, that he'd learned a lot from losing me. He ended it with, "I hope one day you can forgive me." For a split second, I almost replied. But then I thought about how easy it is for people like him to apologize when consequences finally show up. Forgiveness isn't a free pass, it's a boundary. And honestly, I don't owe him that. I owe myself peace, not closure. Last week, my friend Emily told me he's dating Alina now, the same woman he cheated with. They've been posting pictures in front of a new car. A nicer one. I thought it would bother me, but it didn't. Let him have his shiny new start. I've learned that revenge doesn't always look like payback. Sometimes it's just moving on without letting them rewrite your story. People online might say I crossed a moral line, that gifts shouldn't come with takebacks, that love isn't a transaction. But here's the truth. When someone uses your kindness to betray you, reclaiming what's yours isn't petty, it's survival. I didn't take back a car out of spite. I took back the version of myself that used to settle for less, that used to believe love meant sacrificing my boundaries. Maybe that makes me the asshole. Or maybe it just means I finally stopped driving myself into heartbreak. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed the story. See you in the next one.